Okay. And we should be up on Substack. And then I will be getting us up on Instagram, and then we will go live. It's always something.
Ooh-ah.
Yeah. Go at it. There we go. There we go. Going live. Excellent. Okay, we got that covered. One last step that will keep me from losing my goddamn mind. And we're almost up. I want to make sure. Let's see. You see me or you see the broadcast? You see.
I just see a picture of me that says Major Ojeda on the bottom.
Gotcha. Okay, let me fix that real quick so that you can see. There it is. The whole show, so you see what I'm seeing. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. All right, that should do it. You should be able to see the launch window right now at the very least.
I just see my picture.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll see if I can. Bink. Might remedy that as soon as I come up, but we'll see. All right, we're gonna get started. Chat room, hit that like, share the show, etc., etc., etc. One more moment, and god damn, I need. You know what I need? I need more menus across the top of my desktop. That's what I need. I need more little drop down things that I need minutia control over, because that's what everybody needs. The constant gardening. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. I'm going to jump straight in and just go straight to our guest this morning. The Major is with us. We've had a couple of near misses with our dear friend, the Major, over the last couple of weeks, and I'm so glad to have him back on with us, especially considering the number of, shall we say, I wouldn't say, I guess, military related stories that are going on at any given time, because I think Pete Kegbreath has about as much to do with the military as Winnie the Pooh has to do with the movie The Edge. And for those of you who don't know, it stars a giant Alaskan grizzly bear. But I am constantly struck by what a frigging joke this dude is, and how we're all sort of paying a price for him and Donald Trump's lack of genuine masculinity. I don't know, like if they both have one nut like Hitler and they just feel like they have to compensate. No shame in that. That happens to people. Testicular cancer is a real thing. Get yourself checked, kids. But they always feel like they're trying to prove something to their dad or an uncle with a rubber glove. I don't quite know. And since you served and gave a goddamn, your kind of take on this idea that we went from the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and now Pete Hegseth's running around doing these like performative TED talks in front of troops he would never be fit to serve under. And now they're ordering pizza by the stack at the Pentagon, apparently prepping for an attack on Iran.
I mean, at the end of the day, Donald Trump has always wanted people that done nothing but flatter him.
Right.
And Pete Hegseth is one of those folks. I think he is the worst. The whole thing about the Department of War.
Right.
That's no different than saying, we're going to make it mandatory that the Bible is in every library.
Right.
Look, if nobody reads it, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
And this is what this is. They can't get anything done for the American people, but hey, let's change the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and act like, and then we'll all run a victory lap.
Right.
Yeah. It means nothing. They're doing nothing. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really, really disappointed in our senior leadership of our military. And I am running for Congress, and I am hoping that I can get there so I can get the opportunity to look a lot of these people right in their faces, right in their eyes, and ask them, why didn't you stand up and do anything? Mm-hmm. When they fired General Brown from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, which means that he was in charge over the Joint Chiefs of Staff,
right? Which
means he was a senior military person in the country for the most part, with the exception of your Secretary of War,
right?
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's nothing. I mean, they're doing nothing. They're just appeasing one man. Mm-hmm. And I want to look at these generals in the face and say, they fired General Brown because of the color of his skin, because there was nothing that you could say that he'd done wrong. This was all about the color of his skin. And since that, and that right there was a red flag. Yeah. And the very next day when they got rid of the female admiral over the Coast Guard because she was a woman, those are red flags. And from everything that has happened from then on, have been nothing but red flags, and nobody is willing to stand up and push back. And I've said this 100 times. You're not going to be a 5-star general. You're either a 4-star general or an admiral, and that's as high as you're going to go. So push back. Yeah. Make a stand, take a stand. And what if they tell you, well, we don't like the way you think, you're going to have to retire? Fine. Then retire. But make sure on your way out, you let everybody know that you had to retire because of daggone this buffoonery that we are seeing. Yeah, I don't understand. We got retired generals, General Wesley Clark, and all kinds of them that have come on and spoke about how this administration is lawless. So show your courage, do something, stand up and fight.
I agree. I mean, I think for a long time I was saying that Wesley Clark should have been Hillary Clinton's VP. No slight on Tim Kaine. It's great to have one that speaks multiple languages. But Wesley Clark has been such a truth teller and yet still had a genuine military background, kind of checked all those boxes with a certain group of voters without being the kind of guy who would get us into another Iraq. I've appreciated what he's said over the years. And again, he even gets credit from the right wing for bringing up this whole 7-nation dominoes thing that the PNAC was planning, right? That they were going to start with Iraq and then start knocking off countries in the Middle East, which again, it sounds like Donald Trump is picking up the mantle of. We should have getting out of Afghanistan was the most embarrassing thing we ever did, even though he ran on it, and now we should have kept it. Ultimately, what we realize is that he had never intended to leave. He had he wanted to keep Bagram. There was no way you leave and keep the biggest base you have there. It just doesn't happen, especially when it's in ISIS-K controlled territory. There's no way there's not a firefight every time supplies come into that place by plane or by truck. Period. End of fucking story. If you work with any of the civilian population around there, which is something you have to do to integrate, they're going to get killed. They're going to get murdered, all that kind of stuff. And then you're going to either have to sit back and do nothing and catch shit for that, or you're going to have to engage and kill some people and dust stuff up. And it becomes exactly what it was. And now, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you are spot on, and people don't understand that. I've got a photograph when I was in Afghanistan, where we were on a mission and we went out to the farthest outlying area in our district. I was in the Logar province at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And our battle space that we operated, we went out to the farthest point. And there's a photograph because you got cameras. This is today's age. Everybody has cameras, and
Oh, yeah.
we see people. That's why we get to see so much about a person's deployment. Everybody, I had Facebook over there, so I posted pictures and stuff. But you can see this one picture where I'm standing there, and behind me are these younger men. They're probably still considered kids, but they were probably maybe 13, 14 years of age.
Right.
And you could look on their faces and tell they were not happy. And the thing about it is they were not angered at me. They were angered because I was there. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that's because, once again, these were the outlying areas. These are the hardest areas for us to get to, so we didn't get there very often. So the Taliban controlled those areas significantly.
Right.
And when we would show up, the Taliban would run up into the mountains and they would hide and they would watch. But as soon as we left, the Taliban came back down into that village. And if the Taliban thought that anybody that was in that village, if they thought that anybody was a little too chummy with us, they'd hang them. They'd kill them. That's what they would do. So that's the thing. You are right. People got to understand that right now, with the way that ISIS is and the way that the Taliban is, if we still had Bagram, every single time you went outside that wire, you would probably find yourself in a firefight. Absolutely.
And anybody you engage with for intelligence or just perimeter security, anybody and there's a section of Afghanistan where the Taliban is in conjunction with China building allegedly a highway out there. And so China thinks it's going to be part of the new Silk Road and the One Belt, One Road initiative, all that shit. The problem is that it dumps right into the Uyghur territories in China. And there's just no goddamn way that ISIS-K or whatever, asphalt doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care whose wheels are riding down it. And depending on the hour, at some point, you're going to see 8 trucks full of gunmen or bombs or both roll into whatever checkpoint China thinks it has at that point to free their Uyghur brothers and sisters who have been put down, and there's plenty of evidence that they are. And the Taliban's going to let it happen because the ISIS-K's biggest bone to pick with Taliban is that they allow China to do this to other Muslims. And so they're going to sit back to make sure they don't catch shit in their own country. Just, oops, which is exactly what happened with the bomber at the airport. The bomber at the airport was an ISIS-K bomber, but it's obvious the Taliban let that person through because they were suffering a brain drain. Everybody who knew how to run anything, every civil engineer, every fucking librarian in the country was bugging out. They were going to go to, if they couldn't go to Europe, they were going to go to Pakistan or Iran, and they were catching the first plane out of Kabul that they possibly could. And to stop that brain drain, the Taliban let this ISIS-K bomber get in there and blow themselves up so everybody be afraid to go to the airport. I mean, it's been adjudicated 20 ways to Sunday.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. And I say this all the time. I witnessed those buildings of those roads, and I tell people, I don't understand why. And once again, this was the military-industrial complex making money hand over fist. We're building friggin' literally 4-lane level roads in some areas in Afghanistan where the people own 2 donkeys and a cart.
Right.
What are we doing? What are we doing here? Why are we building these roads when before the roads we were out there traveling in Toyota Hilux pickup trucks going over the terrain and up and down mountains and stuff? That's what we did. I mean, that's what we did. Now, most of our areas was not paved, so it was treacherous, especially in the mountains of the Hindu Kush. There were times when I was like, "God, dog, I can't even believe I'm on this friggin' mountain, man. I'm going to get killed, but instead of getting shot by the Taliban, I'm going to end up falling off the side of this damn mountain and dying." And I'm going to tell you, I mean, just some of the most hair-raising, scary moments. I mean, I drove one time for probably 2 hours on the side of a cliff where the road was like that. So I was like this, driving
Right.
like this, and to my right was a 300-foot drop off. And I'm thinking the whole time I'm on this road, I'm like, oh my God, all it's going to take is one IED to blow me off the side of this mountain, and that's it. It's over with. But once
Mhm.
again, it was very treacherous. But then all of a sudden, we've got roads being constructed, and it's like, why? There
Uh,
are no. These people
I'll
don't
tell,
own cars.
dude. I'll tell you exactly why you build a road in an area like that. It's to get trucks in and to take shit out, whatever that is. Whether it's minerals, oil, poppies, drugs, whatever. It's to get trucks in and to get shit out, and it could be benevolent. You could say it's we're going to help this country industrialize itself. After the British ended the transatlantic slave trade, by the way, and it continued through the Arab countries for another half century, and arguably still does to this day. There are more slaves alive right now in forced labor than there ever were previous when there were fewer people on the fucking planet. And again, 6% of the slaves in the transatlantic slave trade went to North America, our territories in Canada. The other 94% went to South America and the Caribbean, hence the genetic makeup of both of those areas. But after it shut down, one of the ways that the British were trying to slow down the King of Zanzibar and all these assholes from reinstituting slavery because it was their main economic engine was, we'll build you railroad tracks. How about this? We'll build you some railroad tracks into the country. Then you can go into the jungle and you can get stuff out, food and all this other stuff and resources, and you can move it out to your own country. If you want to sell it to everybody else, that's great. We'll help you sell it. But you'll at least be able to get it yourself, and it'll give you some other industry to do this. That's the guys everybody's been doing all the other shit about in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and certainly the Russians in Afghanistan, the Russians all throughout Africa. That's what's going on in Sudan. Between them and the UAE, they are paying for both sides of that fucking conflict, while Wagner dudes are shipping gold out of that country under cover of night while civilians are being slaughtered all over the fucking place. The reason you build a road is to get trucks in and shit out. And you need to define why you're building those roads when you do it, because if it ain't above board, it's way below.
Yeah, I wanna also state here, and once again, look, I say what I say, and I talk about what I saw and
Sure.
what I see. America participated in basically, I would say, borderline slave labor.
Mm-hmm.
When we were in Iraq, uh, first off, places like Brown and Root and Halliburton. No, let's say Brown and Root and Halliburton
Mm-hmm.
participate in
Yes.
that kind of shit
Right.
because
We outsourced our evil. Right.
yeah, I remember there was a guy, and he was the guy that went around and cleaned out all of the porta johns, okay,
Right.
and all of there are these little baby trailers that have like 20 toilets in them and showers. Those are everywhere, and then you got like regular porta johns.
Right.
And this guy was hired by the United States Army to drive one of those trucks, and his job was to clean out every one of these, porta johns. Once a week, he went around, did all this stuff. So he was making something like $800 a day, and you might think, well, but if you add up $800 a day for a person
Yeah.
that is literally just going around and sucking the shit out of a daggone porta john,
Mm-hmm.
you think, wow, that's not a bad paying job.
Right.
That's what, $8 grand every 10 days. And oh, by the way, it's tax free. You're in Iraq. But what he did was he hired one of those TCN folks, one of those people from Pakistan, and that guy would literally not leave the cab of his truck. And he paid that Pakistani guy $2 a day to friggin' jump out and do
Right.
the one that actually got dirty and stuff.
Right.
We also had like they were the ones that did all the cooking. We had, in the military, we got people that go through training to become military cooks.
Right.
But in combat, for the most part, what they normally do, they don't really cook that often. What they do is they overwatch these people that are hired from these other countries.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, they're not getting paid jack shit.
Right.
And oh, by the way, mortars and rockets come in all the time and hit the base.
Right.
These people get hurt and killed too, but nobody gives a shit. And I'm going to tell you, when you get the opportunity to go look at their living conditions, oh my God, we're talking about a trailer that has not one stitch of furniture in it. And everybody lays on the ground, and you're literally shoulder to shoulder. They cram as many people as they can into those little trailers right there, and that's how they live. And then they had these canals, and if you wasn't working, if you wasn't one of them working, you'd be out there fishing because you ate what you caught.
Right.
But we didn't have a problem with those people being treated the way that they were treated, because we look the other way. And at the end of the day, what this does is it also increases the profit for Halliburton and Brown and Root, because instead of daggone having to, hire real people and pay them a real salary, they're paying these people $2 a day to cook our food.
Right. And they're just pocketing the rest of the money that's being defined by that. Instead of, all right, well, how about this? How about let's do a fucking audit of how much this actually costs? And if you're going to outsource and it's only going to cost you $4, guess what? You're going to make $10 a day, because that's what you're paying your employees, and that's the cost of living over here. And you found low income workers or whatever. Well, then, and all workers that work for us have to have a baseline human standard going forward. You cannot hire somebody that's living in a fucking shipping container, right? To do this job for you and still pocket, $400 a day.
Yeah, and let me also state that, when I was in Iraq 2004, 2005, which was the worst year to be in Iraq, we had 163,000 American troops on the ground in Iraq at that time, okay? 163,000.
That's a lot of people. Yeah.
It's a lot of people. Our government was paying Brown and Root in Halliburton $200 per day per troop to eat. And I'm going to tell you right now, we wasn't getting that at all.
Right.
I mean, I was lucky to get one, maybe two meals a day, because we were outside the wire conducting operations. And I'm going to tell you, in places like Afghanistan, shoot, I mean, goodness gracious, man, we were definitely, if you're in a combat outpost in Afghanistan, it means you're in the middle of nowhere. You're surrounded by mountains and forests, and you're, every single day that you get up, you're just waiting for somebody to try to hit you.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell you, we're not eating nowhere near that type of that amount of money. You may get $10 worth of food a day.
Right.
Now, if you lived on the big bases like Bagram and some of those places, they had, like, when you walked into a dining facility, you had a whole wall full of nothing but Red Bull and ice cream and Rippets, and then you had tables that had Pop-Tarts and bags of chips and all kinds of stuff. So those people on those bases, when they finished eating, they'd go fill their pockets up with all kinds of snacks and goodies, and they'd go back to where they're at. But if you're on combat outposts, you don't have that opportunity. And, when you hear about, paying people, paying a company $200 a day so that you can eat, and that you're not getting daggone $195 of that worth of food, it does show you how dirty, how corrupt this whole thing is. Go ahead.
So I'm curious about in this particular instance where you've got, obviously there's a balance of security and transportation versus the food that's actually getting there. So you're getting, in theory, U.S. food or European food flown into this place, and the further you fly it out, the more dangerous it gets. So it costs you $100 in security, airplane, ammo, backup, blah blah blah, just having like redundancy throughout the system in case a shipment gets destroyed, diverted, goes bad in the sun, whatever they're gonna. So I can understand stacking. I can understand $50 worth of food costing $100 because of all that other stuff. The part where it cost, and that's if all of it comes that way, because you're extrapolating that cost over getting MREs and other shit out to the middle of nowhere. But effectively, the launching site at one of the bigger bases the cover and security and all that kind of stuff is the same for when ammo comes in and for when, other soldiers come in and that kind of stuff. So it's not costing you extra to get those Pop-Tarts into Bagram. It's an almost impossible task to get them out to the hinterlands, right? To get them out to the edge of, or to the front lines of anything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so it seems to me, if you were on, I don't know, the committee that oversees the budgeting of these kind of things, especially if, we're engaged in something like that, you go, hey guys, guess what? We're going to create a bifurcated budget on this because there's a difference between what you have to get here and what you have to get here. And we want to look at how much you're spending to get stuff there that's difficult, and what you understand that, and if you're trying to pad us by saying it costs the same to get it into Bagram, those kind of things. That's why you want. It doesn't matter the organization that's hired in many ways, because they'll just kind of take advantage of whatever. It matters who you elect. That leadership matters. We did not have ICE on the streets shooting people in the face and running people down with their cars and all that kind of shit when Joe Biden was in office. We didn't have it when Obama was in office. And we also had more people deported. They were more effective and less violent. Leadership matters. So right now, we're staring down the barrel of this of a possible Iran strike. So one of the things that everybody uses to kind of check in on is the Pentagon about to do something, and the last time they checked this was right before the last Iran strike, was if all the pizza places around the Pentagon have a spike in orders, in the evening, which means everybody's staying after hours and it's going to be a long night, which means they are gaming out what'll probably happen in the next week. So everybody's here all week long. We're looking at all the moving parts. Are we going to do this?
So in Washington, D.C., they monitor the pizza, and in Turning Point USA, they monitor Grindr. That how it is?
That's right. Yes. If Grindr shuts down, obviously there's a TP USA thing coming in. No question. I guess, or Candace Owens' show to see whether it's safe to do one of their gatherings or something like that. I am enjoying. We'll talk about that in a minute. The maggots eating each other is a wonderful thing, and must be sensibly and tactically exploited during the midterms. We would be stupid not to. But your thoughts on it seems like Trump is leaving the Iranian protesters out to dry after promising them backup, just like he did the last time this happened when he was in charge. And this whole idea of we're going to hit you hard if you start shooting anybody, and they shot hundreds of people.
But the irony of this, though, Donald Trump talking to the people of Iran, keep protesting.
Right.
But in the United States of America, you can be killed because of that.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's no different. This is how Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is going to stand on the side that benefits Donald Trump.
Right.
During the 2020 election, when the votes were coming in, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness gracious, look here, Donald Trump is winning in these areas. What would Donald Trump screaming? Stop counting the votes.
Yeah.
We won.
Right.
But then the areas where he was losing, keep counting the votes.
Right.
I mean, look, the guy is absolutely just, it's hard to describe him. 150 years from now, people are going to look at this time and think this was by far the dumbest in terms of stupidity that the United States of America has ever been through. It's going to be this period of time where Americans were absolutely either as mind-numbingly stupid as it gets. That's going to be the thought of this. We elected not only a buffoon, but a guy who got so pissed off because he lost an election that he literally launched a friggin' insurrection. And once again, I'm waiting, and I keep arguing with these asshats, man, because like Jack Smith has already went and spent 8 hours talking to Congress, and you can watch that.
Yep.
But once
they were
again,
dumb enough to post
people,
it. Right.
Yeah, MAGA people are not smart enough to watch it. He literally said that Donald Trump is culpable for the entire insurrection. Without Donald Trump, none of that would have happened.
Exactly. Yep.
And,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was just saying, they thought this would be a win posting this, but Trump has, I mean, again, I don't think you have to be the greatest salesman in the world if you have a good product. And the idea that maggots think of Donald Trump as the greatest salesman in the world is just them telling us that they know he's a bullshit artist. And in the case of like Jack Smith, he's getting bad at it. I mean, obviously his brain is turning to, I don't know, truck stop sushi on a windowsill. It is not aging well. And I'm sure you saw him get up from that table with the oil executives and walk to the window and go, "Wow, what a view!" Like he's gone.
Let me tell you something. No, that might be true, but it also might mean the fact that he probably wanted to get away from him and probably shit his pants or something, because they all said that when that meeting was over, he smelled like rotted roast beef.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I've been all over the world, and I mean, I have had to endure some horrific smells. But I mean, when people talk about what Donald Trump smells like, it's like he is rotting.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense. I mean, he is definitely rotten to the core. But, but once again, he's got all these oil execs.
Your feeling is that he literally walked away from the mic because he knew it would be like, it would pick up the sound and of what he was doing, and the rest of, and everybody there would be able to smell it. It'd just be like,
how many,
he didn't want that.
How many times have we heard that he literally just completely
evacuated his bowels in front of people?
Everything in front of people. Yeah. Like people standing there listening, you can see their face go like, what was that noise? What was that?
Yeah, right. I know exactly what that noise was. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
everybody knows what that is.
Yeah. I mean, losing control. I mean, he's obviously had, issues with controlling his bodily functions for a very long time, and a total disregard for whether he should or not is another aspect of that. I'm sure, but the part that where he gets up and kind of like wanders off is clearly all. I mean, that gives him a lot of more credit than I would give him. I think he just kind of got fixated and got bored and wandered off, and maybe took advantage of that moment to take a shit.
We would like to completely rebuild the oil. Pretty bird.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Yeah, right. Squirrel. But in this, in this moment, the question is then, who is driving this administration currently? I mean, all the stuff they said about Biden was obviously a projection. And Donald Trump is signing pieces of Project 2025 every single day. They're just giving him 2 pages out of the book, and he just signs them like they're something, like they're a bill that passed, which they fucking didn't. They're executive orders, but it makes a big show of it, and his followers think he's doing something. The problem is when it doesn't translate to anything, it doesn't change prices, it doesn't do shit, because it can't. It doesn't create a new law, it doesn't create a new standard or a new regulation. He can't add a regulation, which would be the one thing that could probably bring down prices on a lot of stuff, because his base would eat him alive. So, and most of his suggestions sound like stuff Democrats brought up in 2006. So, and then this new healthcare plan, which is we're going to put the money right into your pocket. What money? What?
We're going to give you $1,000
a year.
What does that do? What does that do?
Right. Yeah, especially if an MRI, which he should know something about, costs $2,000 if you don't have insurance. $2,250, I think it is.
The majority of people in this country, and this is really sad, can't get their hands on $500 cash if they have an emergency. And this is what we are doing right now. And oh, by the way, it really kills me. And I'm hoping that it's because it's like an algorithm or something like that. Because sometimes I just can't, not post on somebody's comment.
Sure.
I sometimes, I guess I'm petty like that sometimes.
Triggered.
But when I look at my damn social media, it's like 8 out of 10 videos, it's some damn Trumpaloon. And I'm like, because you got to be careful with that stuff, because
yes, you do.
You find yourself in that algorithm, and that's all you see, and it makes you feel like, is this it? Is everybody this damn stupid? And I got to start, pulling away from all that garbage, because I think that's what I'm doing, is I'm putting myself in that algorithm when I answer to some of these jackaloons. But
sure. Well,
I do.
you
I
you
mean, I
feed that algorithm, and it goes. This is
yeah.
that rewards that behavior on both sides.
Yes, yes, I think you're spot on. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff, and of course, like with the Epstein files,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to post this because once again,
Yeah.
I don't want to say the wrong things, but I'm sure you've heard the Sasha video,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
and I'm going to tell you, holy smokes. And once again, a combat veteran who, at one time in his life, was literally sold to men and was
Mm-hmm.
horrifically raped and things like that. But he mentions names,
Yeah.
and this is the thing: if you accuse me of something like that, I'm lawyering up immediately, and I'm coming after you
Sure. Yeah.
because you're going after
That's
my reputation.
your character will be ruined forever. Even just the
That's
besmirching your character with it, if it's false, you immediately
that's
would go
right.
on the attack. Right.
I will go on the attack, but here's Donald Trump doesn't go on the attack when it
Mm-mm.
comes to these people because Donald Trump knows that in the court there's going to be files that are going to be exposed.
Right.
Uh,
Discovery.
you know if
Discovery is not
Yeah,
his friend
exactly
and never will be. Right.
right, and then of course this kid, well, no, he's not a kid anymore, but he even spoke about Clarence Thomas, Lindsey Graham,
Right.
Andy Biggs, Jim Jordan, and I don't see them lawyering up or anything,
Uh-uh.
and I'm at the point now where I'm really, I just hope that if these actions took place, and I believe they took place,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the Epstein stuff, 1,200 children were trafficked and preyed upon, and if two women get together and accuse you, Hal, of raping one of them,
Yeah.
you're going to get arrested, you're going to be put in jail, and you're going to wait for a trial.
Yeah.
1,200 people have literally been sexually trafficked and raped and beaten and tied up and horrible things done to.
Right.
And we're going to ignore all of their pleas. We're going to ignore them and listen to the one guy that is photographed more with Jeffrey Epstein than any other person other than Ghislaine Maxwell. And we're going to literally take his word for it. And I
Right.
just don't understand. And if you're a Trumpaloon, if you are MAGA, if you're a Republican, let's take Trumpaloon and MAGA out of it because they're lost. They're dumb as a damn stump.
Right.
But you're a Republican. You don't see this? You don't see this? Because if you don't see this, you are choosing not to see this.
Yes.
And it kills me that we are literally allowing these people to get away with this. And this should tell everybody, let me tell you something, folks. It's time for us to eat the rich because this also only existed because of their lifestyles, because of people that had so much money, they believed that they were untouchable and can do what they want when they want. And that's why this whole Epstein Island shit existed. And it is sickening that we are going to sit quiet and allow all of those people to stay silenced
I
when we know that they're
yeah.
guilty.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we are. I think we get Democrats in control of the House and the Senate, it's game over and they know it. I think
Yeah,
that
but are we going to fight that? Or are we going to? I mean, honestly,
yes.
if you, I really believe that Donald Trump. I know they're joking. Caroline Levitt. Well, it was a joke. We just joked about there not being elections. I'm busting my ass in this election. I
Right.
am busting my ass. I'm putting boots on the ground everywhere. Make no mistake about it. If I get a week out of this election and I feel confident that I can beat Richard Hudson, and all of a sudden it gets turned off because Donald Trump decides we don't need elections
Right.
because he needs to keep his Republican bootlickers in power because he knows if they are gone, there's nobody left to defend his horrible, atrocious actions.
Well, and I will say this, it's a curious thing, and maybe it's because of the Epstein files specifically, that maggots, by and large, you could almost count on them around Jan 6 to support him if he did something like that. If after Jan 6 had happened, And if Jan 6 had happened before the election, if it was August 6th of,
Yeah.
it, right? And it was his way of like, get these people down there, and I had to put the Insurrection Act in when they had talked about it. If you'll recall that year, there was a lot of talk about the Insurrection Act as the reason to do this. And so they're going to try and gin up violence in cities like they're doing in Minneapolis, so that they can impose the Insurrection Act. And that would be the only mechanism by which they think they could do this. If they'd have done this before January 6th, there are a lot of maggots who would have stormed up State House steps everywhere across the country on behalf of Donald Trump, their savior, in the middle of COVID, thinking that the world government and the fucking UN jackbooted thugs were coming for him and were going to force him to wear a mask and renounce Jesus and all that stuff that they believe. Now, though, after that July 21st memo, after the first Iran strike, after his multiple meetings with Netanyahu and the Charlie Kirk assassination and this fixation by a big chunk of the maggotry that they believe that not only was Charlie Kirk murdered by by the right themselves, by Erica Kirk and the fucking French intelligence with Mossad and Trump and the military and all that kind of stuff. That all those beliefs, whether they bear fruit eventually, whether they are able to shake something loose and Tyler Robinson literally goes free because these assholes have created so much doubt in the minds of potential jurors or some nonsense. If it has any ramifications, it won't matter. But the ramification that is occurring is that these assholes are turning on Trump. I want to show you real quick one thing that I have seen play more on right-wing media than almost anything else. And it's John Kennedy asking Kash Patel about co-conspirators.
And traffic these young women too, besides himself.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay. That is what is colloquially referred to as a lie. That's just a straight up, cartoonishly loud, dumb lie. And a lie that clearly came under direction from Donald Trump. Like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go down there and tell them that none of my friends are in this. I'm sick of yelling at Lauren Boebert in private. You're supposed to yell. You're supposed to scare all these fuckers into behaving by saying there's nobody in there. And I'm protecting you, I guess, is the message to anybody who, is in there with him on the right that would, that would benefit from that cover.
Yeah, I also want to make sure, this is why I think they're gonna fight like hell.
Oh yeah.
To not be removed, and the reason for that's because they know, and we know that they've already lied to Congress multiple times.
Right.
That's all they do is lie, and once again, when you lie to Congress, you go to jail, and once again, these folks. I mean, Dan Bongino pretty much walked away from his job.
Chickened out is the phrase.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, just these are people that literally promoted. We're going to release the files day one.
Mm-hmm.
My thoughts are as Kash Patel walks into his office at 3:00 in the afternoon, and at 3:30, everybody knows every name on the Epstein files, and it was all a bunch of bullshit and lies. And the truth is, but I'm going to tell you, I believe that ICE agents, and here's my thing, ICE has a purpose in this country, but they don't have a purpose for what they're doing right now. And my thing is that I would like, and I actually sent this to Swalwell, I sent it to Ted Lieu, I sent it to a few people that I'm pretty good friends with on we like, back and forth.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think it's important that we now find out exactly how many people work for ICE that actually stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Because once again, this is Donald Trump's jackbooted thugs. This is his brown shirts.
Yeah, that's what he wants them to be. Yes.
I can see Donald Trump pardoning every one of them and then giving them an opportunity to go into a job that pays them a $50,000 sign-on bonus when many of them lost everything that they ever had, to include their families. This is an opportunity for them to get back, and they can thank their orange Lord and Savior Donald Trump that pardoned them. Right. And once again, you spent 4 years in prison. You got your ass whipped all the time, because we heard about how these MAGA guys was getting their asses whipped every day in jail. You got your ass beat every damn day for 4 straight years, and Donald Trump releases you from prison, pardons you, and gives you an opportunity to have a job where now you get to go beat the shit out of the people that kicked the shit out of you when you was in jail.
Right.
But I'm telling you, those
proxies
are the very
for those people. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the very people that the moment that Donald Trump realizes, and now we know, Jack Smith, the classified documents, Donald Trump is going to jail. The insurrection, Donald Trump is going to be held accountable. He's going to go to jail. Donald Trump is not going to go quietly. Before Donald Trump leaves that Oval Office, he is going to call on every single MAGA out there to take up arms and defend him. And that's what a lot of them are going to do. And there's going to be a lot of people in this country that are going to be hurt because of this, because Donald Trump is willing to burn the entire friggin' country to the ground as long as he gets to rule over the ashes. Right. And it is dangerous, and that is where we are. But that's also the reason why nobody gets to sit this one out. When election gets here, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm hearing a lot of scary stories. Mm-hmm. Hispanic and Latino voters, they don't want to vote this. They don't want to vote. And this is what Republicans want. Keep the Hispanic and Latino people from voting, because they know they historically vote blue. So this is what right now in North Carolina, we've got people in the Latino and Hispanic community that are scared that there's going to be an ICE agent standing at every single polling station. Mm-hmm. And with this administration, I could see them doing just that. Mm-hmm. And it is un-American. It's unacceptable. If you are not Native American, if you are not Navajo, Cherokee, Sioux, Huicholi, if you're not a Native American, you came from immigrants. And the fact that we have so many of these friggin' Trumpaloons, these cruel bastards that literally want to sit and throw stones at people. You are from immigrants. Mm-hmm. And it is so sad to see the stupidity of these people and how their hatred continues to friggin' grow in this country. I hate it. I hate what Donald Trump has done to this country, our democracy. He has made all of our allies cut ties with the United States of America. And I really believe that him, Putin, and Xi Jinping have sat down quietly and decided that, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to take this part of the world, and it's going to be all ours. And you're going to take this part, and the rest, that's it. Everybody else, if you're in our district, everything you do, all the resources that you have, everything that is good is going to be taken from you and sent straight to Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. I really believe this. I hate to say it, but I believe
I think that's his goal. And I think that goal would have been achievable about 35 years ago if he'd have started this then. But the reality is, I'm fairly convinced he's not going to live to see the midterms at all. That we've had Doc Adam on here, and that's going to be a thing that we're going to have to deal with. Donald Trump is not going to finish his term. His brain is fading right before us. This idea that he had a CT scan, he mistook it for an MRI, is horseshit. They also gave him a CT scan so that they can have plausible deniability about the MRI that he did receive. You don't mistake those things. They are very fucking different. And so the White House tells you he's the most healthy president that's ever fucking lived. So I'm supposed to take every other detail that comes out of their medical assessment seriously, except the big, grandiose statements? Get the fuck out of here. None of it. I don't even believe, the medications are enough of a drip of truth, but hiding exactly what he's really taking. And here's the thing. The aspirin he's taking alone tells you that he's already had a stroke, and it's relatively recent. It's in the last year. It was more than likely no later than February of last year.
Yeah, his health. Here's a man that sits on a friggin' toilet to 4 o'clock in the morning, just rage tweeting.
Right.
This guy is not healthy. But here's
Maybe
the
his
thing.
ankles are full of shit. Right.
Yeah. But my thing is that I don't want him to disappear and JD Vance get in there. I want that whole administration to be removed. It kills me. I don't want JD. I think JD Vance is just as bad as Donald Trump, except he's more intelligent. And that is what scares me the most.
Well, okay.
Because JD Vance doesn't give a shit. JD Vance will sell his family down the river.
Yeah, he's Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel's boy. He'll do what they tell him to do. That's the scariest thing about him. It's about what he can get through. And obviously, when it comes to people like Donald Trump, it ain't about smarts, though. But JD Vance may be smarter than Donald Trump, but smart doesn't appeal to maggots. What appeals to them is this kind of messianic status. And go ahead, real quick, and then I'll finish my thought.
But if JD Vance was the vice president when Donald Trump stormed the Capitol, he wouldn't have stormed the Capitol because JD Vance would have done exactly what Donald Trump wanted him to do.
Correct. Correct.
I'm not a daggone Mike Pence fan. I shook his hand one time, and I was like, if my grandfather shook his hand, he would have knocked him out because it was like this limp 3-finger handshake was really, really weak, weak. And I was brought up to believe you got to give a firm handshake or that's an ass whooping.
It's insulting. It's meant to be insulting. So for the people that don't know, like what they think it's just kind of like this male bonding kind of thing. There's a generalized respect and strength, show of strength with a man. You give him your best handshake without overdoing it, which means that I'm showing you my strength, you're showing me yours. Now there's a history of where the handshake comes from is that most people are right-handed. And that's you shake hands with your right hand to prove that you don't have a weapon. That's where all this came from, whether it's the gripping of the arms or any kind of stuff. That's the history of this thing. There's also a secondary history that comes from the kind of skull and bones crowd, is that if you shake hands with an equal, you shake hands with relative strength. But if you shake hands with someone you have disdain for, you do not give them a real grip. You do this kind of clasp thing. That is them telling you that you are of low status. That's what that would mean. That's what Pence is doing. That's what that's the Harvard, Yale, Cambridge, Oxford crowd. That's what they learned to do. Is that it means and it comes from a long history of like royalty, both French and British royalty which they'd have agreement handshakes, which were among equals, and then they had this grip that they would give to other people because you're not worth it. I have to touch you because you're one of my people, blah, blah, blah.
Well,
but,
I have never been a fan of Mike Pence, but Mike Pence did do the right thing on January 6th. JD Vance wouldn't have done that. JD Vance and them would have said, and once again, that's why this little talk about, the elections. If they decide to say that we're not having elections in 2026, I believe that it's going to absolutely blow up in their face. But I
think 10 Republicans. I think 10 Republicans will resign in protest. They're already seeing a bunch of them anyways. They have a 1-vote majority right now. They lose that 1 vote, they're screwed. Because everybody else who isn't a Democrat, in the or doesn't align in the Congress caucuses with the Democrats right now. So it is a 1-vote majority. They lose 3 people going, no, we're having fucking elections because they need to get reelected to have a legit rule. Like, if you don't have an election, members of Congress don't get paid starting at the beginning of the next year. You have to pass a bill because it has to be because of war powers or some reasoning. And so you have to have an agreement in the Congress. That's how the Founding Fathers kind of tied it all together to make sure that somebody couldn't unilaterally act like king and kill the elections without some sort of extraordinary reason. Like the day it happened, we had a 9/11 and a Pearl Harbor. You could suspend the elections for 10 days, but you can't get rid of them entirely, right? And you'd have a responsibility to make sure that funds from the federal government paid for the rest of these things. If you cut it off, unless Congress agrees to continue their own term, and they have to be sworn in and all this, and they pass that date, nobody gets paid anymore. And a bunch of them, the rich ones won't give a shit. The Darrell Ices won't give a shit because they're multimillionaires. Those are the ones that usually want to run for Senate and then president. So they need elections for that as well. There are a bunch of people running for office who want that.
Well, look, before we hop off here, I want to show you what I've recently got,
Okay.
because I know you'll appreciate this.
All right. Oh, that's amazing. I love it first Sting. Vinyl
That was the
pressing.
first. That was the first album I ever bought, and then I got this one too.
Oh, damn. I can't, like, it's hard. It's shiny on my end, so I'll have to.
It's Scorpions.
Oh, yeah.
Crazy World.
Yeah.
The Wind of Change. Send me
Oh,
an
yes, of
angel.
course. Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I tell
awesome. You got to come out
Yeah,
when
man,
they
I
play
know you
here.
like that.
They play in Vegas. You should come out when they're doing their residency. We'll see
Dude.
them live.
Oh my gosh, dude! I'm telling you, man. I keep telling my son,
Yeah.
we only go to epic concerts. We've been to Metallica. We've been to Rush. I mean, we only go to Kiss.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm telling you, I've always said I want to go see Scorpions.
Oh, we'll make
so
it happen.
bad.
Yeah, because like Skid Row opens with them, and I know those guys, and
Oh
you
my
know,
God,
and,
man.
yeah. Well, that'll be a
Yeah,
great
that was-
time.
Oh hell yeah, I'd fly out for that for sure, man. Awesome.
I insist. So I want to show you one thing before Rob's not in yet, and he'll be coming in the next hour for Friday Eye. But I want to. Here's one of the other reasons why I think that the MAGA base has lost a lot of wind in its sails, and it ain't coming back. And this is one of the reasons. This is, and this ties into his whole like giving the finger to the Ford plant guy the other day.
I
is
can't
the-
see anything.
It's
I'm still.
sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. It says
I don't see myself. I just.
yeah.
I'm in the back.
For the who's at home, it says Trump's promised manufacturing boom is a bust so far. Introducing the highest U.S. tariff since the Great Depression, Trump made clear his promise: jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. They haven't. Manufacturing employment has declined every month since Trump declared Liberation Day in April, saying his widespread tariffs would begin to rebalance global trade in favor of American workers. U.S. factory employed 12.7 million people per day, 72,000 fewer than when Trump made his Rose Garden announcement. Even the factory he was touring was not expanding. They were simply putting on another shift at night so that they would rotate, so they don't, because they knew it was temporary. They're not going to invest in building another factory like this is going to be permanent. They know when he's done, this is done. So why would they build an entirely new factory? They can put on a shift because they're fighting back against the tariffs, and they need volume of vehicles to guarantee a profit margin that can actually help them build more cars. But he thinks, wow, putting on a third shift. It's very much like, remember when George W. Bush said, she got 3 jobs. That's uniquely American. Like, yeah, she shouldn't have to, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But that's Trump's promised manufacturing boom is a bust so far. On top of that,
Yeah.
you check, like, the price of groceries isn't ever going down. It's not ever going down. It's the rate it's going up slows because we're getting further away from COVID. That's why. But that's supply shock. That has nothing to do with monetary inflation. And all these Volckerite idiots who think we have too much money in circulation, tell that to people who can't afford rent. It's just dumb. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
We have supply shock. That's life. I'm going to let you go, and I appreciate you coming on. You're welcome anytime. We missed you sorely, and you're
Any
awesome.
chance I get, my brother. Any chance I get, my brother. I absolutely love this show.
Thank you.
Everybody that is watching this show, I know feels just like I do. It's like every time I come on this show, I feel like I leave smarter. So
I try, man.
I really appreciate, brother. You are absolutely highly intelligent. And you literally, there's very few people in this world that can literally talk about every single topic and talk about it with some knowledge. You are that guy. So I appreciate you, man. And I'm honored when I get invited. It is awesome.
Yeah, there's a phrase that many in polymaths like myself feel we're slighted by, and that is jack of all trades, master of none. Because the rest of the phrase is, and I think it's right, jack of all trades is master of none, but is very often is often better than a master of one.
Good stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, brother, I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. All right.
Yeah, airborne.
We'll see you next time. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, our dear friend, the Major, heading out, and I'm going to bring in Rob Glenn, who's waiting in the wings. Let's see, can I get this? Got to do a little bit of housekeeping here. I want to remind everybody, hit the like, share the show, etc., etc., etc. There we go. That's this business. Save that. Put this guest in here. And yeah, spread the love if you could. And there's Rob popping up in there. And Rob, can you see the show broadcast at all, or you just see me? Do you just see you?
I just see me.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna. I thought I reset the preferences. Rob was. Beg your pardon. The major was apparently having the same problem, and it shouldn't be that way. So I'm gonna try and remedy that right now. I don't know why that would be a thing. So let's see. Host camera. Switch it to that. And then
Now I just see you.
And then how about back to broadcast? Do you see this now? Do you see
I
me?
just see myself.
Huh. Host camera. Okay. And then I tell you what I'll do. I know what I'll do. I can solve this. I got it. Hold on. Start virtual camera. There we go. And that's why. Host camera should do this. And then my camera should be almost there. Almost there. The OBS virtual camera. Bink. There we go. All right. Now you should see me. Yes.
I see you.
Okay.
And it looks like the show background.
Yes. And then we bring in you. Look at that.
There we are.
Ah, you can see it.
Yay.
Okay. All right. That was what the issue was. My virtual camera was shut off for some reason and couldn't figure out why. So here we are. Welcome, Rob Glenn of Root Design in Chicago, my favorite city in the whole wide world. And
Mine too.
Yes, it's a great place. We love it. And we got a ton to talk about, like post CES and post our little class on prompting last week. There's a ton of stuff to talk about on top of just announcements that came. And I think one of the biggest ones is Trump, in his attempt to move manufacturing back to the United States, signed a huge deal with TSMC, the chip designer, which is part of the Chips and Science Act anyways. He just put more money into it. And that's, by the way, what he wants all this defense money for. Let me be abundantly clear. The Defense Department is going to backfill all of these data centers that are being built everywhere and the chip fabs. So because they want a Chips and Science Act on steroids now. They've realized that they not only need, the Republicans wouldn't vote for more funding on the Chips and Science Act. So the Democrats got the best they could and passed that. It needed to be more, though. So now the Republicans realize that, and they know that they can't tuck their tail between their legs and go, you know what, the Democrats were right. We need more money for this, not less. And so what they're doing is they're shoveling that money onto the defense budget. This is for national security. Everything falls under national security. So so they struck this deal. Well, now that means we're on the hook for Taiwan. This is not just we're making a deal with NVIDIA. TSMC's, corporate headquarters and everything is in Taiwan. We have it, and they are, the Taiwanese government has a stake in it, not like China does with like 51%, but that's a protection racket for us with Taiwan now, which is really does. China was livid about this deal, more angry about it than almost anything we've seen this side of Soloviev bitching about us giving, stingers to fucking Ukraine. So this is about the bubble probably got extended if there ever was one, and I don't believe there is. But the AI bubble got extended a little bit because the American taxpayer is going to be paying, $500 billion to make sure that it extends in this sort of space race against China.
Yeah, well, effectively, the way that Trump has funded the things that he wants to fund that are not law, because Congress has just basically went to another place and put their head in the sand.
Right.
Is through emergency defense, like national security. Like that's his go-to place for all these things, basically, so that the executive branch can do whatever they want effectively.
Right.
And I'm not sure that they think past the second step or the third step when it comes to what you just said.
Right. I don't either.
The-
I don't think they're aware of the can of worms that this opens up.
Yeah, and that's sort of I think that by putting, like, we have to stop putting normal logic to try to explain what we're seeing, because
I agree.
it just
Yeah.
isn't there. Like, we
Yes.
have to stop doing that. and almost all coverage of all things, it's this sort of reactionary, like, this doesn't make sense. I don't
Right.
understand what is going on. And like, it's because we keep trying to apply logic or keep trying to apply history, even history, just, recent history, in terms of like what a normal politician or a normal president would have done.
Yeah.
And we're completely out of that territory. And the motivation is there, like, we have to stop putting any motivation on it. Possibly other
that's
than
what
just like enriching myself
But
or
believe me,
themselves.
I understand. I don't attribute that as a thought that Trump and his people had. I think they blew right past that, not realizing the geopolitical implications of what they were doing. On a certain degree, I'm for it because Taiwan deserves to be protected. But they're like backdooring their way into protecting both Ukraine because of minerals and Taiwan because of chips. And these things that
Yeah.
Democrats have wanted and been aware of and had that logic about, like, there's both something in it for them and something in it for us. It is a mutually beneficial agreement to protect Ukraine and to protect Taiwan. The Republicans are either they're accidentally falling into this and just coming to the same conclusions that Democrats do because of the resources that are there. They're so hungry for those resources, they don't give a shit about the secondary impact that it is good for Taiwan or it is good for Ukraine. They just don't give a fuck. As long as it's good for me, I don't care if it's good for you or, whatever. Which means, by the way, that eventually it could be bad for you, right? It could be like a mistake if you don't look far enough. Yeah.
Yeah, all of these things easily jump back and forth between being great and being bad.
Right.
And if there's no sort of like moral direction to it, I guess, moral or like foundational, like planning, if you will, then you're always going to be caught in that. I think that maybe in the case of what you're talking about now, the difficulty is the sort of faltering of someone who's like got the people in the U.S. that have directionality to their thought.
Yeah.
I think that they're struggling to say something like what you just said. Like,
Yeah.
these guys have no direction. But today whatever choice they made helps my logic. So let's just present it as such. I think your first guest, the Major, has a
Yeah.
really good way of doing that. Like,
Yes.
he obviously has a solid direction in what he thinks should happen, what he thinks about these things. They're sort of based in a foundation that exists inside of himself. And I hear him constantly saying, here's what I see happening. And he puts choices out. He did a really interesting thing today. I was listening where he was talking about Republicans versus MAGA. Like, he actually framed it in the sense of, like, MAGA, you are obviously doing this, and that thing is sort of the left's, like, exasperation, like the sort of hypocrisy things that we talk about. Like, they're obviously doing this, but he then said, Republicans, you have a choice. And by doing that, he, like, basically created an out. Like,
Right.
he created an off ramp. And so, Republicans, you have a choice. You can either, like, go down that road that these crazy people are going down,
Right.
or you can be a normal Republican. He's not saying be a Democrat. He's saying be a normal Republican.
Right.
And that's the off ramp. So my point is to say that, whatever your reasoning is to back Taiwan in this case,
Yeah.
in this moment in time, it's fascinating, I suppose, that they're one of the largest companies, the most sort of impactful companies that is based in Taiwan,
Right.
being that it's chip based, and it's literally like the water of AI, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right. It is the hydration.
Without it,
You can only live
it
a
doesn't
couple of days
exist. It's
without
the
it, right?
oxygen. It's the
Yes.
oxygen of AI, literally. Like,
Yeah.
it's funny that becomes the focal point that then brings them back, because the best I can say of the administration's feelings about AI is simply, all the money's going there. We want all the money here. Let's get on board with AI and make it easy for all that to happen, so that we
Right.
can basically say we're the most successful country in the world. And, be damned all of the possible like gray areas of any of that stuff, or the gray areas of AI and all that
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
I
So
saw an article about the oil money being deposited in Qatar
yeah,
from Venezuela.
sure.
Like, I mean, therein lies like these sort of like deals being made. They're
So
like
that
multi-pronged. Like, they're really like, how can we benefit? And then once we've benefited, how can we brag that we did it for America,
right.
even though it was for us, but it's really for you, right? Like,
Qatar also did the transfer of funds, like $2 billion transfer of funds using Trump's meme coin so that he could get a slice of it. So this seems like another
yeah,
opportunity for that, where they moved it through those banks. So they'll transfer it to an American bank using this meme coin as the transfer protocol, and Trump will get to take a fee off the top of it. That in and of itself will dwarf whatever Halliburton made in the Iraq War, ironically enough. We were talking about in the first hour. And that's got to be, that does not fall under whatever the broadest scope of the SCOTUS's idea of a president cannot commit a crime because he's doing what he's doing for national security. There is no meaningful reason for that kind of corruption. They're just not going to be able to find a window for that. They just aren't.
yeah. Well, but in World II here, where
Yes.
they think like the same thing with the Epstein files. So if the president is weakened by a domestic problem, then that is harmful to the national security of the United States. Thus,
Right.
we can't have any of that happen, right? Because then that's a national security problem. Because they've constructed that logic in their minds, all of this is fine. We have to build up the man, because the man is our conduit to
Right.
strength as a nation, right? Like, and like, I don't know that you can break that. You have to work through it, work around it, or work in parallel to it, showing a better way. Like, there's just no convincing people
Right.
that think that that's okay, that it's not okay. They've already bought in.
Right. But I do think there is a backing down, because it goes with the sales pitch that Trump gave his own people. That he sold them this idea that he would be the anti-war or no more forever wars. He wouldn't, get us involved in these things. He wouldn't put soldiers in harm's way and all that kind of stuff. And he's had injured soldiers in Venezuela who, this was an action that did not need to be taken. Most people are agree with that on our side, but also on the right. Like, nobody has to think Maduro was a good guy any more than we think Iraq was a mistake, even though Saddam Hussein was a terrible person. That's not the argument. The argument is are there people in this world that the world would be better off without? Of course there are. The question is, what's the benefit of doing something about it? Or letting somebody else do something about it, namely the people inside their own country, but also just, what's the potential blowback? If you do this, what's the next thing that can come back? And I don't think they're thinking, I think you're right, I don't think they're thinking past the end of their nose on any of this shit. I think they're just going for these resources now, and he wants his piece of it because he's basically checked out.
Yeah, I mean, the logic, like, again, using proper logic, the moment after they kidnapped Maduro, they would say, you guys there in Venezuela, you really need to put the opposition party in power because they won the election. That would make a lot of sense. Obviously, that didn't happen, to the point even where I forget the woman's name, but she brings the Nobel Peace Prize to Trump,
Yeah.
which she basically won in some sort of like weird like
The
thing.
the Nobel
like,
Participation Trophy, you mean?
yeah, well, but my point is that the entire time, like in her mind, she's like, well, I have this thing of value. If I go and pay the penance, I guess, or pay this guy off, then maybe he'll do the thing that we wanted him to do in the beginning, which is you put our opposition party in power. Like that makes total
Right.
sense. But the whole thing was bullshit to begin with. He just wants the fucking trophy. That's
Yes.
all it is.
Yeah,
and we have to start realizing that that's all it is. He
Right.
just wants the plaque, and he wants to put it up on the wall, and he's
Yeah.
out. He's like, I'm done with you now. and
Yeah.
and that's really hard to wrap your head around. I know, because I you could
Who
call it
lives like that?
nihilistic or something.
Right.
Who like yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is. But the out, I don't see. To me, the out is like Major Ojeda kind of starts to frame an interesting out. Like the out isn't like you're gonna say you're wrong. You're gonna get your one-uppance. Like the fuck
Right.
around and find out stuff. I get frustrates me too, because like it's not the end. Like the end is that's the people that are so deep into the con, they need a way out. And if you don't give them the way out, they're going to find their own way out. And so the out, like you have to like articulate an out that like that gives them cover, right? Like and I don't think that that's a losing direction personally. Like I think we have our neighbors, like these are our neighbors, like everybody has a neighbor, and we need to live in this world together in this country, and the path towards like true patriotism, what our version of patriotism is, where we all get along and we deal with each other and we put up with all of our differences, is that we have to figure out a way to like make it okay that they fucked up. Like, I mean, I love the way Major Ojeda talks about it. Like he doesn't give anybody any outs. Like he's like this stuff is fucking crazy. Like the guy that got interviewed in Minnesota, he's just like, this is fucking crazy, like, and everybody's like, why do you keep, I heard something, was it Kinzinger? You got to stop saying fucking. It's like, if now's not this time to be ripping off language. F-bombs,
right? Yeah.
Like then what is it? What is the time? Right.
Right. Exactly.
Anyway, so with like AI is a train and it's going down the tracks, and we've talked about the bubble in the sense of like the reason I don't think it's a bubble is because the component that makes it possible, which is the chip, that's the start of this conversation.
Yeah.
It can do more than just AI.
Yes.
It's also
does everything else.
Cloud. It's everything else. It's cloud computing. It's crypto. It's blockchain. And crypto's kind of got these negative terms, but blockchain is a technology that is going to be part of our lives in a good way as well for a long time. So because it's so like the future is going to run through these things somehow. And so that's why I don't think it's a bubble, because even if AI does collapse, which I don't think it will, there's other things, all of this effectively capital, all of when telephones stopped being used, when cell phones came out, what do you do with the telephone lines? Like they're all still out there, but they're not being used. It's not the same way with these chips. If AI went away, there's plenty other things to pump through them that is going to be useful in life. Right.
Yeah, just like there used to be this thing where you could sign up and have your computer used by like science labs that need to crunch numbers, and they didn't
Yeah.
have enough computers to do it. So you could sign up on this program, and it would basically hand over the computing power of your computer, so it would be like a big network of
Like
of number.
distributed computing.
Yeah, exactly. And in the case of if AI is not even a factor of it, if you're talking about the kind of science, like the kind of computations you need to solve disease and solve space exploration and deep sea exploration and figure out replacement minerals for rare earths and that kind of stuff, that's going to require a lot of computation, and those things can do that as well. That AI is just helping them do it more in a more directed sense. But it's still going to be useful no matter what. And it is a physical thing that it is at the root of all this. And that I think is going to be the big,
Meaning the chip is the physical
yes,
thing?
yes. That the chips,
Yeah,
they're going to continue to make these, and they're going to be faster because they will be capable of more, which means, again, it's deflationary towards the amount of computational power that the average person has. Because if Google has a quantum computer, the rest of us are going to get Vera Rubin's, the high end one of those, because that becomes the mass produced dismissed thing.
That's my good enough theory. Like
Yes.
the reason I say good enough is because if you concentrate not on what the magical new thing is, which is always the next best thing, it becomes so big, and you just concentrate on what can I do with what I have.
Right.
And AI has that ability. Like you don't need to get a really high level of value out of AI as it exists today. You don't need a full on cloud server worth, this crazy like data center. Like
Nope.
you can make a useful thing in a home computing setting. There's a couple comments
Questions?
that I just want
Okay.
to comment. Somebody, John Katz said, I believe we can use blockchain to make it possible to vote by phone. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like blockchain has the ability to basically be like a pretty secure voting mechanism. Right. That's a great example of something that blockchain can do, which is not crypto. I mean, even if crypto becomes currency, the problem with crypto isn't blockchain. It's that as a currency, it's being used for
too easily manipulated
black market. Yeah. Right. And then I saw one other thing about the prices. Like, if it's not a Simon Bird, if it's not a bubble, then they better start ramping up chip making and bring back down prices. So like, there's problems brewing, and they're effectively supply chain problems. For instance, RAM is extremely expensive right now.
Right.
And so at some point, if the top end of the monster, the head of the monster is like sucking up all the resources, and you don't have the feet of the monster, like us people who have personal computers, we can't buy personal computers anymore because the components are so expensive. There will be a readjustment. And that readjustment is either prices just collapse because they have no other choice, or some new technology comes out that either makes the head do it differently so that all the RAM becomes, in this case, RAM
obsolete,
becomes available to everybody else on
or
the low
built
end,
into the CPU.
Or the other way around. Like you just eliminate the need for RAM, which I know sounds crazy, but that's how these things work. The paradigm shifts will happen, and they have to happen along the way for this stuff to work.
For those of us that have often had to zap our PRAM over the years, this might sound
I don't want to hear about
good.
your PRAM.
Yes, you do.
Nice.
No, I don't.
Nice. Not thrilling, but nice.
I was looking for a clip that explained your idea of we all live in a neighborhood.
What a bunch of hippy-dippy baloney.
All right, there you go. So
so Bald Dano said, Rob Glenn, PS6 is going to be $2,000. Exactly. And then when PS6 comes out and it's $2,000 and they don't sell enough of them, then PS6 isn't a product, right?
Yeah, right.
And so something changes. Like when they can't make a product and make a profit, then they change and they make a different product, or they figure out a different way to make it cheaper, right?
Right.
So these things they even themselves out. They have to.
Right. But don't worry, everybody. We've got a genius in charge of everything who knows more about AI than AI knows about itself.
Sure.
He doesn't at all look like hammered shit right now. Here's the thing I want to talk to you about today, Rob Glenn.
Okay, let's do it.
This little statement from everybody's favorite used Cybertruck salesman, Elon Musk. We have entered the singularity.
Okay.
Now, he said again, there's been 3 tweets on this. We've entered the singularity. We're on the horizon of the singularity, and the singularity will happen this year. He said all 3 of those statements in like no particular order, which you would think there would be a direction. You know what I mean? It'll happen this year. So, we're on the horizon, and then we are in it. That seems to be when time flows forward. Maybe he's quantum tweeting and time is folding on itself or some shit or whatever. But
so before we go too deep into this,
yes.
I just asked our friend Gemini, what is the singularity? I think this is really important because one, most people don't know what what that term even means, and I don't even think Musk does, because he probably just makes it up as he goes. Well, he probably knows what the proper definition of it is, but I would say that he's using a marketing term like AI, like he's going to slap this. So in his mind,
he's going to name something Singularity X very soon.
I think in his mind, AI has a path, like it's got this like end spot, and this end spot is singularity, and he wants everybody to think that he's gotten to the next place. So that's how I would characterize what he just said. But anyway, so Gemini says the singularity is a hypothetical future point when technological growth, especially in artificial intelligence, accelerates so rapidly that it surpasses human control and comprehension, leading to unpredictable fundamental changes in civilization, potentially involving superintelligence, human AI merging, or profound societal transformation. So you could argue that profound societal transformation is happening, and not because of AI, but because of social media.
Sure.
Because of technology before AI even got here. So at any rate, what does he back up any of that with any like other thought about why he thinks that?
I'll tell you exactly why he's doing it and what context he's doing it is that he wants everybody to think that he knows this because X is, XAI is in the process
doing something that he's about to tell us.
We're almost there.
Thing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we got it.
That's that. I swear to God, that's what he's talking about. It's a sales pitch, like you're saying.
I mean, we've talked about this before. In my opinion, about the singularity is who fucking cares? Like it's whatever it is. Like there's this thing that's happening. Deal with it, and it doesn't matter what name you give it. It's happening. So deal with it. Right.
Right. And also once it happens, here's the, okay. So this is what everybody's afraid of. And I see this, let me bring up, I'm going to play a little piece of video. We don't normally, when you're on the show, do what I do in the regular show, which by the way, this afternoon, everybody will be, about an hour late because I have to, run a rather important errand, this afternoon, and I may not be back in time for it. And it's just, it is definitely, like it charts. It's very important as to why we would want to do this. And
I
really
like your facial hair.
Oh, thanks.
It looks very good on you.
Thank you. Summer thinks that I look like an evil genius, which I was like, okay, that'll do. She goes, it's good. It frames your face. You look like an evil genius. And I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean the square. It's like squaring off your jaw for sure.
Yeah, you can see it more.
I mean, visually, that's the
It accents it's shading it properly or something. All right.
Yeah, there you go. I was thinking of contrast.
Contouring. Yeah. That's what it is. Okay, so this, I'm sure you're probably, I don't even have to tell you, you're probably a big old viewer of the 6-7 Project.
Gosh.
This dude.
Is that really what it's called? The 6-7 Project?
No, it's 3 of 7
Oh,
Project. I
that's
call him
your
the
joke.
6. Yeah, I
Okay.
call him the 6-7 Project. Listen here, he sounds a little bit too much like Hank Hill for everybody's taste. Just
I've
work on
seen
it.
you have him
Yeah.
on your show.
Okay, so
that's
yeah,
all
yeah.
I've ever seen.
So the title of this one, you're gonna love this: Artificial Intelligence Replacing the Bible. And this is yeah. So we'll catch a couple seconds of this and we'll respond.
Okay.
So I think it's obvious that this AI will be used at some point in the future to help humanity.
And these two boys who painted my cat's butt to run around the neighborhood like hooligans, skipping school.
Determine what is right and what is wrong morally. I think there will be a strong case made that because we can input data from history, from all different cultures and from all different religions
we're going to have Sharia AI
into the framework of AI, that it will then be able to deduce the closest possible thing to truth for humanity. And I think that will be, even now, widely accepted. When I say widely accepted, don't mean that there's no one that would push back against that.
Of course, I've seen Johnny Mnemonic. There will obviously be rebels.
The majority of people would accept that this tool that we are developing can help humanity reach another level by giving us the right answers to what is right and what is wrong morally.
I'm sure, Rob, this is making your blood boil the same way it is mine. Like, it's just so aggravating, but yeah.
All right.
It doesn't make my blood boil. It just...
Okay.
It's a pretty astounding thing to think about, because what happens if that happens? That would mean that...
All right. Okay. You get the idea. Like, we don't need... He's pontificating, and largely you can tell by his body posture and his lack of eye contact with the camera, which he normally talks to directly, that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about and needs filler video that will scare the shit out of his dumbass viewers. And the idea that it'll decide what's right and wrong is, I think, in many ways not the problem. The problem would be is that humans decide what is right and wrong. And in the case of somebody like Donald Trump, it might makes right, or Vladimir Putin. The thing is about how it would be carried out, I guess, is the genuine fear. If you send, a bunch of T-1000s after people, I think is the concern. Kill all those people, they're the bad ones. It's not that it makes the decisions for us. It's that once we make our decisions, they're cheaper and easier to make than ever, and you can make them at arm's length, and you don't have to send soldiers into harm's way and shit like that, I think would be the bigger fear. But he's worried about it just taking over religion.
Well, it's whenever looking for an answer moving forward, most of us look backwards to find reasons or answers, or the answer to the question is looking backwards so that we know what to do going forwards, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
So in the terms of the Bible in general, you can make it say anything you want it to say if you analyze it in the right way. In many ways, I think the Republican Party has used our founding fathers and the Constitution in place of the Bible, because they've decided exactly what they think it said back then, as it relates to the things they want it to be now. So if AI was like, yeah, the Bible's totally right, dude. Everything about it, everything it says is exactly right, that guy would be like, AI all the way. Like, we're only listening to AI, right?
Yeah.
And if AI,
what would
said,
AI do?
That Bible, that's thing's totally full of shit, right? He's like, no, we got to get rid of AI, regulate it away, right? I don't believe in regulation except for AI. Right? So at the end of the day, like, we decide. Actual people are going to decide what they want to do,
right?
Like it or not. And we've talked about it. There's many benefits to asking an AI who's got no emotional connection to anything. What it would think of a situation in a courtroom, right? Like, a lot of what we're witnessing now is like, I look at the stuff in Minnesota and it's the same as replay in a football game. Was it a catch or was it not a catch? Right.
Right.
And was it this or was it that? Was it murder? Was it defense, self-defense? Right. And anytime you get on that edge, like the football catch, it like you're going to come into it like loaded up with background, and
Right.
it's gonna send you down a certain direction. It's gonna taint what you see, right? Not to say anything about what's right or wrong in any of that. I'm just saying it looks an awful lot like, we're arguing whether there was a catch in football or not, right?
Yep.
And being a Bears fan, like Bears Packers,
Yeah,
you see a lot of that stuff, right?
Yep.
Like,
Totally.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so AI does have the ability. You could use AI in a court case to analyze all the information and give what effectively would be, in theory, if done right, not like an opinion which was not emotionally driven, right? But then whether you put it in the hands of the AI or you put it in the hands of the judge or you put it in the hands of the jury,
jurors.
That's the human choice, right? Like,
Yep.
So we choose what to do about that answer after you. So, and Lauren King says, "Sorry, Rob Glenn, F the Bears."
Ouch! All right,
that's all right. We won the game, so we're still playing. And
that's right. We're in. Fingers crossed. Right. So real quick, okay. So from the singularity standpoint, and this kind of brings into where this guy's panic is coming from, is that they're waiting for this horse that they're barely holding on to in their head to snap its reins and ride off, and you're sitting on the back of this fucking thing, riding bareback blind into the horizon. And so that's where this fear comes from. And the singularity, by and large, can be defined when AI, as we understand it, everybody wants to call it AGI or ASI, advanced superintelligence or advanced general intelligence, can perform generalized human tasks better than the average human or the most well-trained human. I'll go with the ASI version of it. The most well-trained human. It can do math better than an Oxford scientist. It can do philosophy better than a philosophy professor at Northwestern. It can, it does all of those at once. It can do all of those for everything. And then it is recursively self-improving, meaning that like the Claude, for example, which is last name Balls, as my dad would say, is 4.5. Then the new coding thing, they have a new tool called Cowork, which will automate all of your white collar work, all of your filing, all of your legal stuff. Like, it's extraordinary. It's $200 a month right now, which means it will cost nothing in about 6 months, or some version of it will cost nothing in about 6 months. But Cowork, the entire structure of that agentic substructure of Claude, was coded by Claude in the coding thing. It was vibe coded. It was a request. It was completely coded within it. Yes,
by employees of
Anthropic, right?
I was thinking agentic, but I couldn't think of it Anthropic.
Yeah,
but yes. Supposedly it was only 4 people that did it.
Yes, and it was done on request. And if you told the thing, keep building, like, here's a piece of software, we need this, keep iterating this until it works, and then use the new version to iterate a better version of it. That's what we're talking about. That's the recursive improvement part of it, and that's where they're afraid of, like, what's effectively runaway acceleration, where it will just, like, once it can fix itself and improve itself, then we're in the gray slime problem, which is then, like, make this material we can replace concrete with, and then it never stops because it's always trying to improve the concrete. So it has this device that it creates, and in the creation of that device, it just oozes gray shit out into the thing until the earth is full of gray concrete. And that's the fear on a data level, that comes with this. So runaway acceleration caused by recursive improvement that's based in this idea that it reaches a point where it can generally, it can do any generalized area better than a master of that area, PhD level quality or whatever. And so that first step, or the third in this case, that piece, it can do things generally better than any expert in an area. I think that's what he's defining the singularity as one element. Because
Today.
yes, right. That's why he thinks it's already there. Because he's convinced it's that good. He's also convinced, the interesting thing is the same people that are convinced that the singularity is already here because AGI exists because it can already do most jobs better than other people, like it's smarter than a college professor, think college professors are full of shit. And so if you think it like RFK's,
so many of these,
they've lowered their opinion of the quality of people and their expertise so much that they overvalue where AI is, because they've undervalued what real expertise is. They think they don't believe it.
Yeah, I heard a pretty decent explanation of this co-work thing, or the way that, I mean, the story of how co-work was developed.
Yeah.
They talked about the fact that because it was so expensive to go develop what co-work is, you would have to get a team of developers, start them on the thing. And if you started it and made it after spending that much time and money, and then you were wrong, you just wasted all that time and money, right? So what companies have done for a long time now is they've developed processes to like decide what to do. Mm-hmm. And so they'll spend a ton of time and a ton of energy and people and manpower and all that.
Right.
Just coming up with a plan for how to make co-work. It would be this product definition, and it would tell you exactly everything it could possibly do, right? And so a ton of time is spent doing that, and then they go, then now here's what we defined it as, now go make it. Mm-hmm. The thing that we have to understand now is that the paradigm shift is going to be in, you don't have to think about making it anymore, because making it doesn't cost any money.
Right.
So you don't have to plan. You don't have to spend all your time and energy planning. You just have to spend you could shift it to spending your time and money deciding what would be profitable to make or what would actually work. Right. So let's say this thing came out and it was garbage. Right.
Yeah.
They're like, so what? It took 4 days and an AI,
right.
We'll try it again. Give us 4 more days, right? Mm-hmm. Like give us 8 more days, right? We'll figure something out. So it's not that it happened, it's that it happened differently. And the different way it happened, companies are not structured to do. They have to rethink how they go about developing products and things like that. That's one. And then the second thing is, like, so what? Like a piece of software happened really fast. Like, what does that do? It basically makes a whole bunch of companies that make a whole bunch of money on the stock market obsolete, because you don't need their software anymore.
Right.
So one of the pushbacks on this is basically like a lot of like capital sitting in places where maybe it doesn't have to be there anymore. It's got to be in this new place, and we don't know what that new place is. And that's really scary, just like the singularity, right? The unknown future of working and making stuff is just as scary as the singularity, the AI becoming human and killing us all, right?
Right.
So I feel like the AI becoming human and killing us all is just displacing the fear of the reality, which is we're going to have to start thinking about cars versus horses, or, we're going to have to start thinking about what's the next thing.
Yeah.
Really fast here.
Well, yeah, and I think that is the biggest thing. The runaway acceleration is the big fear point that a lot of people have, is like they don't feel like they have a grip on what this stuff does already. Imagine if it gets away with itself and it starts self-replicating and all that kind of stuff. And then of course the next thing it does is have a fucking Lelu Dallas multi-pass moment where it wakes up and decides that human beings are the biggest drag on the environment because there's a bunch of nihilistic, self-involved dickheads who believe that for a long time, and they have an outsized voice inside certain Hollywood
What a
windows.
bunch of hippy dippy
Well, I think-
baloney.
Right.
I think that the reason why what you just said is true is because it's being sold as something it's not.
Right.
And we're making it in our mind something it's not, meaning we're not actually looking at what it is. Like, we're not wrapping our head around what it actually is. And until we do that, it's always going to seem scary. So like, really, I think the way to like de-escalate this situation is being truthful about how it's working and what it's doing.
Right.
And because there's just so much garbage and fluff out there, and just like marketing garbage that is like Musk here saying that it's the singularity. It's not the singularity by any means. By
but it's
the
good enough.
definition that I just read anyway.
It's the Rob Glenn singularity, which is like at a certain point, like most of it. I have 2 screw guns, for example. I have a regular screw gun that you can adjust the strength of its torque from 1 to drill, right? It's that whole thing. And you can, and that way you don't, if you're dealing with something delicate, you set it on 1, and before it allows you to punch a hole in whatever you're working in, it will start clicking and it will lose traction in its torque. Okay. And then I have a driving screw gun that can be used for bolts into concrete or walls. And it is, so it not only drills, but it also vibrates slightly as it goes in. It has like this punching effect. Most people don't need both, right? Most people are just fine with the one that has a lot of variability in it and used for mostly household stuff. And most people wouldn't even know half the time that the other one even exists because it doesn't come up. And I think there's a ton of these tools that are that regular screw gun that have, enough variability and enough work that it fixes for you that at a certain point, it's like all the drop-down menus in fucking Adobe Photoshop. You're like, good Lord, like, who the hell digs in this?
There's like 50 different ways to change colors in Photoshop, and on your iPhone, you just say, I want it to be old. I want it to look older. I want it to look younger. I want it to look like space. Like, so it's the tools in Photoshop that you could like manipulate them scientifically. And then there's a sort of, like plain language of, I want it bluer. I want it more red. I've been thinking about this in a slightly different way than what you just described. And that is going to like the assistant. So like the dream is, or, the agentic kind of talk is that, we've talked about it here. The AI is going to buy you airline tickets, right? I'm going to go on a trip and it just go buy me airline tickets, right? Yeah. If you think about, if you actually had an assistant doing that job, like you would be having them do it instead of you because you didn't have the time, let's say. But let's talk about for a second why you don't have the time. And that is because you go to buy a ticket, and when you get to the website, you don't know what your password is. So you got to go look up your password. And you don't know, what time the meeting is. So you got to go look up the time. And so what I'm getting at is there's a lot of little things that keep you from getting into that process. And then you just stop and you're frustrated and you hate the process. But there's probably parts of the process that if all of those things that caused you to stop weren't there, you probably would enjoy. Like picking which seat you wanted, or, like if you had a choice on the food, stuff like that. So what I like to try to think of AI as, AI doesn't need to go buy the damn ticket. What AI could be or should be used for is to get rid of all the stuff that you should just be able to recall like this. Right. So log me on to American.com. Yeah. That statement should come along with it the knowledge of what the URL was for American.com, which is probably AA.com. It should come along with what your login and password are. It should come in with what your frequent flyer number is, all the things that you just don't, that just go along with that statement. Boom. If you were planning a trip and you got straight to selecting a seat and a time, then that's what the assistant does. Because the assistant probably is like, I did all these things and now I got here. And do you want to sit in the middle or do you want to sit on the thing? Like the assistant would still come back to you and interface with you to get your choices, right? So AI is not, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to redefine or actually define what an assistant is.
Right.
And AI is totally capable of doing that without ever logging into the thing for you, or without ever going off and hitting go on the credit card. And if you multiply that across a lot of other things, like in my work, like when I bring up a new project, I'm like, where did I put that file again?
Yeah.
What folder is it in? Like, and all I want to say is, hey, what that thing that I made in Photoshop that was kind of green, right? Like if my AI assistant could find what I actually meant when I use contextual language, it would save me countless hours every single time getting up and going up, getting into the process and getting up to speed. So I think that's what an assistant actually is. But that's not how we talk about AI assistants. We talk about it as, these magical things that are just going to make your life easier, but we haven't defined what makes our life easier. See what I'm driving at?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to show something. This is Anthropic's ad. They dropped this 3 days ago for co-work. This is the thing. And this was, again, the important thing is, it was completely coded inside the AI that they have. So they created a piece of software that was, designed and birthed inside their own there. And then also, by the way, this is not an ad for co-work. I don't get any money from any of these sites. Neither Rob or I do. I subscribe to almost all of them because I want to see what they're available. I don't have the pro version of anything. I just use the plus or I have the pro version, but I don't have like the $100 a month version of any of these. Like I just use the $20 a month version. I don't know why they're playing this. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this is AI music. I hope if I don't get a destruction or a copyright strike. Okay, again, that's a research preview of what Cowork will do or whatever. And it's basically like, organize my goddamn desktop. This is a mess, which I'm sure we could all use. And if we could teach a person, like an assistant, do this, like, hey, can you organize my financial files into one folder? I keep downloading stuff or all my screenshots in one thing. There are already tools, kind of to your point. If you log into American Airlines or whatever, if you fly as much as a touring stand-up comedian does, your frequent flyer number and your preferences are already loaded into a lot of these sites. Interestingly enough, they came up with those things a long time ago to just kind of store, you'd rather have a window seat because you're one of those assholes who sleeps up against the hull of the plane everywhere he goes. And, you have a food preference if you're, vegan chicken or fish or beef or whatever it is. So you can put those things in there. So the AI doesn't even have to know that stuff anymore. And it kind of goes to our localized AI thing. There's so much data collection that already occurs.
Well, let me pause you there for a second, because what you just described, that those preferences exist only at the one airline that you put them in.
Yes.
So they exist with the vendor, not with you.
True.
And so what AI does is it would allow you to keep those preferences attached to you. And then when given a question that isn't exactly the same question, meaning which seat do you prefer, window, aisle, or center? Like, what if it's asked slightly differently by United Airlines, right? And so what AI is capable of doing is contextually, this is what is asking. I know you like a window. I'll pick whatever the answer that closest is to windows. So that's the difference between AI. Is it exists with you and not with the place you're buying the thing from, if you will.
But you also have, what I'm saying is like, I use Expedia, for example, most of the time,
right?
And it has all of my stuff stored for each of those airlines and stuff. And there's limitations on what it can do. But the next step would be the difficult one, where the agent would run into. It would have some value for this, in that you go from Expedia or Travelocity or whatever you're using in your booked stuff, and you go to the actual airline to check in. Sometimes you can check in within Expedia or Travelocity. Sometimes you have to go outside to the site, like Southwest is that way. And then once you do that, the extra information, check if it were to check to make sure that your TSA number is loaded in there, so your TSA pre is taken care of, so you don't have to check that box every time you go, that it automatically understands what you prefer. Or it goes, oh, by the way, we had to arrange this so your flight one way is an airline that you do use all the time, your flight, your transfer flight is another airline you've never used before, so we can go into their website and go, okay, using what you like from all your other stuff and judging from everything you get, you like a window seat, fish, and you'd rather have leg room in an emergency aisle, or whatever, than sit in the back of the plane near the shitter. That kind of stuff. It can extrapolate those kind of things and act as a personal assistant. It's very much, I personally think what we're headed towards, and the comfort I have with it, is more like Jarvis or Friday in the later Iron Man storyline. But there's this joke about Pepper Potts in the first Iron Man one, where she goes, he goes, I got this, whatever. She goes, I can handle this. And she goes, I don't think you can tie your shoes without me. And he goes, I'm pretty sure I could figure it out as an engineer. And she goes, or something along those lines. And she goes, oh yeah, what's your social security number? And he goes, 3. She's like, you're missing a couple of numbers there. But that's how much reliance he has on her, so that he can stay focused on what he's doing, right?
Exactly.
That he outsources. Yes, he does the stuff he loves. He's tinkering on his cars and building robotic stuff and whatever, doing Stark Industry stuff, and all that other stuff. Like most people in high positions, they outsource that to an assistant, which is a human being. And in this case, most of us, could not afford a human being that would live with us 24 hours a day, that if we woke up, called them in the middle of the night, and we're like, hey, make note of this, they would go, oh, shit, right? But an AI won't, right? That's the thing.
Yeah, it's all these like little things. Like, I'm developing something for myself that is exactly focused on that. So like anything that keeps me from doing the thing that I should be doing that's most productive, I try to offload somehow onto it.
Sure.
And as you think about it that way, and you think about what is, like, it's the same thing as working with an assistant. Like, what does an assistant need to know to actually make that choice for me? Like, and so if you think about having a local AI that's good enough to do that, then you don't need to go out into these $200 a month cloud type places,
right?
If that's all you're doing with it. In fact, like I almost think that that once we kind of figure out those actual uses, like the uses that are like beneficial to other people, to everybody, it's going to actually make the cloud versions not as valuable.
Yes, I agree. Because they're not going to take all this energy and all this kind of stuff. That's what like giant corporations or governments will have to use, maybe because of the amount of crunching they'll have to do. But the interpersonal AIs that help you run your life can already basically fit on your phone. That's where the new Gemini and the new partnership that Apple just did with Google is about. I do have a question in a second that's on the panic range, which I think we should address, from viewers.
Real quick, like the thing that is heavily misunderstood is that there's memory. The analogy I would give is it's literally sending everything it knows about you every time that you've allowed. So like it'd be like you're going down the street to get some groceries, and at first in your chat you just drive your car or you walk, but by the time you're like 6 months in, it's like got to take a whole cargo ship full of information every time you go to the store, every single time you go to the store, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why these models have grown so big, because the only possible way for them to feel as if they have memory is to send shit tons of data back and forth. And so the key is not to just keep growing so that everything can always be sent every time. The key is to figure out how to get the same quality of answer with a lot less information moving each time. It'd be like having, a slow internet connection versus a really fast one, getting the same amount of download speed, I guess. I don't know. Sorry. So what's the question?
Okay. So this would be, this is, I understand that this is a generalized sentiment we hear all the time about this. Okay, yeah. So this is Denise. I don't know how we're going to afford food if our jobs have been taken over. Get it? I'm not getting on board. I guess I'm not getting. I'm not on board. I don't understand this. I don't know why you guys like this. Okay. So okay. Well, on the one hand, it isn't
like
about
the
liking
idea.
it.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of people not being able to afford food by any means.
Right. But what I would, no. That's not what we're talking about at all. But it's a little bit like the internet and going, what are, are we still going to have books once the internet takes off? Everybody said no. And then, of course, now books are making a resurgence and that kind of stuff. In this particular case, here's what I would say is that the jobs that will be taken first are the drudgery jobs. And a big portion of those drudgery jobs are food production. That if you're going to watch for something where, technology, I keep saying this, technology is always deflationary. It always brings costs down because that is the very nature of the product itself. That Moore's Law or the advancements in computers, you'll always get faster, lighter, cheaper every single time, because that's the goal. Because the product itself, if it was just one giant supercomputer sitting in somebody's room, wouldn't have any value because it would have no one to connect to, and it doesn't have any value in its reach. But personal computers and the kind of chips we're talking about and all that kind of stuff really only have value in their ubiquity, that everybody's able to get access to it, that everybody's on board by and large. And I know we're a couple minutes over, so I got to let you go. But I want to hear your take on this on our way out the door. But I think the jobs that provide us with food and food construction jobs, those kind of things, those are the first things you will try to automate away or find solutions for before anything else. So that the cost of food, is one of the things that you would, as a non-negotiable necessity, that's one of the things you would seek to bring down the cost of first, as opposed to optional jobs that some people use and some people don't. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, in effect, that's what the market would, in theory, be doing. And if applied to any like commodity or any produced product that you must have, in theory, if you bring down the cost to produce that thing, deliver that thing, whatever that is, then that actually is something that will bring down costs. So in theory, if you completely automated the entire food production process, then the cost of food should either stay that way for the rest of time or go down. The rest of time, you know what I mean? Like but right now, the thing that makes food more variable is the environment, like the scarcity of it due to whether it grew or not, or if it's there or not.
Yeah,
and
or
the cost,
or the availability of fertilizer and stuff like that.
Yeah, or the cost to get it out of the ground and get it to the grocery store, if that's what it is, or a cow, like raise a cow, butcher a cow, get it to the store, those things. And so again, if you take labor out of those things, labor is the most expensive part of almost any process. So it should come down. Absolutely. And so then you get yourself caught in this loop because it's like, well, if the jobs go away, who works the jobs? How do you get money? Then how do you afford the food, right? And those, like, instead of figuring out how to regulate, well, on top of figuring out how to regulate AI so that it's used for good things and not to harm people, we should also be figuring out what to do with people, how to handle the fact that people's jobs are changing dramatically,
Right.
and deal with
Well,
that.
I've said for a while, and I know you got to go, but and I appreciate you, Rob Glenn, Root Design, Chicago. Thank you for being with us today. But I would say that the United States has already done this. We have already automated away a lot of uncomfortable and unfavorable jobs, painful jobs, boring jobs, low-paying jobs, drudgery. We've just done it to poor immigrants under the table or foreign workers who work for $2 a week. That's what we've done. So the idea that a robot would do it instead of us, exploiting a human being for it is absurd. Most people aren't doing these jobs these days in the United States, anyways. The question is, where does it go worldwide? What do those countries do? Do they advance to a more middle class experience because that automation slowly but surely, like all technology, spreads to those countries? So India and Africa and places like that adopt those systems eventually so that their people have a similar quality of life? Perhaps. What's the time scale on that? That's a long time.
I mean, if just take us as U.S. centric explanation in this case, like a company either chooses to either manufacture something here or manufacture something in Asia, let's say,
right?
And the cost in Asia is what it is, and the cost here is what it is, and they choose Asia because it's less there than it is here. And that comes with all the caveats that you just said. If then automation makes it the same price here as it is there, then the job just left Asia and came here.
Right.
It didn't get given to a U.S. employee. It got given to a robot, let's say, or it was accomplished by a robot. What you've done in that just small scenario is you haven't taken away a U.S. job. You've taken away an Asian job.
Yep.
And so Asia, in theory, China is supported by its exports because it's such a high export nation. When its exports go down, it will then have to figure out how to deal with that. Whereas in our case, we're not figuring out how to deal with the loss of job because the job was never here. We're figuring out how to deal with the change in value of the thing that is being made.
Right.
And so, you start to like break down healthcare costs, food costs, like, when we talked a little bit about, we talk about like prices in general, but inflation and stuff like that, cost of living is like weighted down heavily by just a few things, healthcare, food, automobiles. So as you start taking the big ones off the list, like it gets much more affordable pretty quick, but they're big problems to take those initial things off the list. Right.
Right. And then the people who are working or whatever, the price of there might be an adjustment in people's wages because your dollar goes further as they start to, reprice things downward over time. And they'll do that with interest rates, by and large, the same way you do, quantitative tightening will be the way that you'll slowly tighten up the money supply. But the idea that AI is going to take everybody's job and then nobody will have any salary, so what are they going to buy food with is not the issue. Because again, by and large, the companies that are going to race towards automation first or those kind of things are the companies that have must-have products that can that have a very small margin of profit, like groceries, like foodstuffs, which is about 2%. Farmers, we talked about this with tractors moving in. this, and Operation Wetback and removing the Mexicans the men that were working here in the country. That's what's happening with this immigration push as far as Trump's. Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel are behind this purge of immigrants almost as much as, and having to do with the economics of immigrant labor as much as Trump and Stephen Miller's racism. It's almost 1-to-1 in the motivation factor behind it. I mean, if anybody's just following Otis at this point, it's Stephen Miller and Donald Trump listening to Curtis Yarvin and Peter Thiel, because they just want these people out of here because they want to push automation as fast as possible, and you won't adopt unless you have to. If you can still get cheaper workers that already can do the job, and it's easier to just yell at somebody, and I don't have to subscribe to it. If I'm sick of this work, I can just fire him or call DHS on my own worker if he threatens me or does anything wrong. That still works right now for a lot of these assholes. So what's the and until they don't have that as an option, they're not going to move on to a big complicated computer system, running a bunch of robots that are picking apples all over the orchard. They just aren't. But if you run out all those people and they just aren't there, and that the next 10 years, no matter who's in office, the border's going to be shut tight for the most part, you're going to invest. You're going to invest in the robotics. Whatever company comes along to sell you, like, hey, man, you're going to need this apple picker. There's nothing, they're getting rid of all your apple pickers. That's what's happening. And the price on that, there'll be a slight evening out of rise in prices as they invest in new machinery. But the other side of it is that the price will continue to go down and down and down. And as you remove pesticides and those kind of things, because you have organics, because you've got lasers shooting all the pests and all that kind of stuff, and that's what they're selling. I mean, that's what it was at CES. I saw this fucking, wheat harvester that was as big as a 2-story house. That can do the work of 40 people. That's what's going on. And it isn't that, and those are the jobs we don't have enough people for anyways. That's why we're importing them. And it's also why they get treated like shit. Because it's such drudgery, if they had a voice, they'd never do it.
Yeah.
So
I think the possible bigger impact might be like literally picking weeds. Like if you sent a bunch of Atlas robots into a field, you don't need Roundup anymore.
Right.
And so it would actually cost you more to do that than spraying Roundup, but you get health benefits out of it.
Well, and you could sell that and raise the cost of the product, even if the cost of the product didn't go up.
Exactly. Yeah. And, our entire economy, news, everything is based on growth, right? So like the idea that prices are going to come down, it's not going to come down. The only thing that can happen is they stop going up. And that's even considered bad, right? So like the thing that's crazy to me is that, this whole affordability stuff, like really like the only thing that you could possibly do is try to increase wages, so that you then can purchase the things that haven't gone down. But like this tariff thing, like no matter what the Supreme Court does, whether they say tariffs are good or bad or legal or refunded or whatever, prices are going to stay the same.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to reduce them. Mm-mm. In fact, their excuse, they'll come up with an excuse why they won't go down if they're given a refund and they're claimed to be illegal. But if they're claimed to not be, they'll also have an excuse why they can't come down and they have to go up.
Right.
Right. Because we just had to fund all of this stuff and we haven't been charging you all of the
We've been eating the losses since the beginning of the shit, and it cost us so much extra money beyond what our normal cost is. So I wanted to show everybody this. This is the Laser Weeder G2. This is one of the devices that's already available on the market. And what it does is it has a laser that can spot the difference. You program in what plant you're growing and what plants you don't want. Basically, anything that isn't corn gets zapped with a laser in the dirt. And and then the back of it has a little water sprayer in case, so there's no fire or anything. But it literally destroys pests and invasive weeds in there. That's not Roundup. This replaces Roundup, and it replaces Roundup with something that is completely organic, fire, right? And this is what I'm talking about. And what's in it? 2 NVIDIA GPUs for advanced image processing. That's where it is. There you go.
Yeah, you got to like see the bug, recognize it's a bug, aim at the bug, and fire. Like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what you got to do, and hit the bug.
It works day and night. It's got 240 watt lasers, 3 high resolution cameras with advanced optics. It shoots it with this laser right in the root. Essentially, it can burn the root of it. 24 hours later, 48 hours later, 72 hours later. That's what happens to the plant. And it clears the area before you start planting. 80% weed control cost reduction per year. 99% of weeds killed. 100% specialty crop models. This is and 100% organic. No more Roundup. No more pesticides. That's what's happening. Now, the reason we have pesticides is because you could not have a human being walking around with a fucking pair of toenail clippers snipping every plant like this thing is doing one at a time.
Yeah, or literally hand picking weeds.
Exactly. Pulling weeds.
It was a cost. It was a way to drop the cost of food because your yield was higher because you didn't have to worry about any weeds taking over a field, and you didn't have to spend money for someone to come out and literally pick the weeds or, deal with
That's right.
In whatever way that you dealt with it.
So this is why I'm bullish on this part of it, because you could, in theory, over the next 5 to 10 years, eliminate pesticides entirely.
Yeah, and so now you got a robot walking around with a laser beam that can kill bugs, and everybody's brain automatically goes, well, what if that robot leaves a field, comes to my house, and shoots me in the eye with their laser, right?
Right.
Kills the whole town, right?
Right.
And so, like, every single one of these things has the good and the bad.
Yes.
And we as a society have to pressure ourselves essentially to do the good and not the bad. But
Right.
you can't keep the bad from ever happening because the technology is all the same, right?
Right.
Anything that you build that's good can be used bad. It's been that way since the beginning of time. So
Right.
That's a different job. It's like, you can't just stop it all from happening. You got to come up with a better way to convince people to only do the good, I
That's
guess,
right.
or regulate it or have rules based. I mean, now's a difficult time to be talking about that because things seem kind of a little out to lunch, but
Sure.
Well,
and also, we'll cover this in the coming days, but eventually, a home EMP device that looks like a flashlight that kills electronics will be your fire extinguisher.
Could be, absolutely.
I mean, you just pointed it at the robot and just like that, and the EMP pulse from it would fry its internal circuitry. And that's it. And could somebody destroy your property with one of those things? Absolutely.
Yes.
But it's still illegal.
That's the other problem.
Still illegal. Same thing if they would fucking cut the brake lines on your car. It's still, we have destruction of property laws that fit that. Anyways, we
find ourselves in the exact same spot. Are you being defensive with it or offensive with it?
Right.
And then we get right.
Whoops. Lost you for a second. Is he coming back? I hope so. Is he there? Damn it. Sometimes it just freezes up. This is the sign that we went over. That's the issue. Hold on one second. I'll go back to me as he comes back in. Rob, you might want to... okay, he's reconnecting. Give me 1 second. Hit the like, share the show, by the way, chat room. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Yeah, there he is again. We'll come back in. And sorry, welcome back. There's always that one little freeze. We went way over.
There's always that one time.
Yep, we went way over anyways. I think that was just tapping up so I can let you have your day back. Thank you for being on. I appreciate this conversation, and it will be ongoing. I'm not going to try out co-work, obviously, but between now and next week, what I'm going to try to do is automate one aspect of my show prep that's annoying, which is getting all my stream keys and putting them where they need to go, which is something that eats up an exorbitant amount of my time in a very stupid way. And would be really nice to just go button, and then it does that part so that I can focus on the stories. I can focus on what I'm doing. And it's never going to be a job that I would give to another person to do, because I would feel like shit asking somebody else to do that one task. You know what I mean? So
Yep. So I can. We should meet maybe on Tuesday.
Yes.
Let me show you what I'm working on, because it'll definitely inform what you're talking about there, and it'll
perfect.
kind of get your mind wrapped around it in a different way, I think.
Lovely. I appreciate that. All right. Well, thank you, brother, and I will talk to you again soon. We'll talk on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Good to see everybody in the chat. Have a great weekend, and love you, Hal. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
you too. All right, I'll talk to you later. And there he goes, ladies and gentlemen, Rob Glenn, Root Design, Chicago. Chat room also, like I said, this afternoon, I know, Andrea, I just saw that we had Doc Adam booked this afternoon. Hold on one second. Let's see. From the major. Oh, I appreciate that. We love the major. So I have a rather important appointment this afternoon. I know Doc Adam was going to be on. If he can't move to an hour later or so, let me know, and we'll just reschedule him. It wouldn't be a bad thing to have him on the radio show. Just saying. At some point. Yeah, 4 p.m. should be all right, in theory. So I appreciate you guys and your patience. Yeah, Doc Adam, who, of course, is our expert on Trump brain fatigue, will be on with us this afternoon if he's available at 4, because, like I said, I have to bump it an hour because family first. That's what we do around here. And I'm glad, I think, what did we learn today, most of all? That Rob Glenn thought my beard looks pretty good, and my girlfriend thinks it makes me look like an evil genius. I think it's got decent kind of, I don't know, decent lines at this point. We'll see. But well, I'll keep at it until I absolutely have to cut it off, which might be sooner than we think. And then, yes, it would be great if he could come on CPT tomorrow, even in the first half hour, like the first hour, second half of that. So that would be 9:30 Pacific time. Would be great to have him on the radio show for a half an hour. 2 segments is usually great for guests. Awesome. That's it. I'll see you guys later on this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And I feel bad because we didn't have our proper theme song when we went into the show today, because we started with the major and not with Rob. So be careful. The snarkularity is here. You know what I mean. Hit the like, share the show. Thank you.
The fridge hums low, the lights flicker bright. Microwave's got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams. The coffee maker's brewing skin.